Welcome back to the 7th episode of the Billionaire and the Church Rat series. I'm your host for today, Tony, and Mitchell is with me as a special guest. So, in this episode, we're going to be talking about information, basically. Just information, right? Information that basically the billionaires have, right? Certain feeds, certain information that enters their ears, minds, and feeds. So, basically, the difference between this information, the information that they have and the information that you have, right? So that's what this topic is going to be about, right? And like I said, today I'm the special guest, I'm the special host, and Michelle is the special guest, basically. So, yeah, moving on. Basically, Michelle, how does it feel right now to be on the opposite end of the what's it called? What did you say again, sir? Of the yardstick I've been out to you.
Of the others, yeah, totally understand.
So basically, because yesterday I was the special guest, and now you're the special guest, how does it feel now?
Not too much, nothing more. We just did,
Well, I'm going to be asking you some fiery questions, so you guys stay ready to answer them.
Normal.
Basically, right now. So now, moving on to the first question, right? So it's like just basically now moving on to the first question. It's going to be simple and there's it's not. I'm taking it like from level 1 to 100. Now, Michelle, is there a podcast, book, or video that completely shifted your mind, like that completely like shifted the way you thought, and basically made you who you are today? Like, was there a book, or was there a podcast, or was there any show that you probably like listened to, or was there a comment or a reel, Instagram reel, or something that you had to listen to, that you listened to, and then it was just like that the turning point for you?
Yeah, there is. Let me just say, when growing up, there are some books that I read, right? Some books about money.
Yeah.
When I was very young, like The Richest Man in Babylon and 21 Uncommon Keys to Financial Overflow, and What Rich People Know and Desperately Want to Keep Secret. You understand? But even after reading these books, they didn't open my mind, right? So it just basically shows that when you want to start living life as a whole, you're not going to start learning about money. You're supposed to learn mindset, how to think, how to approach life, how to see things. Right? This was in my JS3 SS1. Then in my SS3 after WAEC, before I went back to school for NICO, I read 2 books. The first book completed everything in my life to about 80%. The second book completed everything in my life to about 100%. And then I finally understood where I am standing, where to move, how to move. I basically understood everything, right? The name of that book was Change Your Life, Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life by Brian Tracy. Brian Tracy, after reading that book, he automatically became my best author. Like, this guy told me things that I never knew were possible. He told me things that I never knew existed. Like, he basically opened my mind. He basically just opened it. Like, he tapped into me and basically just opened my mind. Like, this was the book that set the tone for my entire self-improvement journey. Like, this was basically the book that like changed me. And like, that book now, I will give that book to anybody. Like, I'll recommend this book to anybody just looking for a way to start from. Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life by Brian Tracy. The book really changed me. You understand?
Yeah.
The guy talked about mindset. He talked about the power of this. He talked about the subconscious mind. You understand? How what you think affects you. How the way you talk to yourself negatively and the way you talk to yourself positively can affect you. Bro, I never knew that thing was possible. I never knew that like the things you say to yourself can affect you until I read that book. Then I now read this book by Joseph Murphy, The Power of the Subconscious Mind. I remember this Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life. I read the hard copy. My father had the book. Then this Power of the Subconscious Mind, I read the book in my mother's phone before I went back to school for NICO. Now the book basically explained what Brian Tracy Brian Tracy just put one foot, right? The book now explained it deeper. They now told me the power of my subconscious mind. Why it is like that? Why is that when you believe it will happen, it will happen. When you believe it will not happen, it will not happen. The guy taught me to stop saying not, I cannot do it. So he taught me to stop speaking in the negative. He basically like just explained to me like the real power of my subconscious mind, and the thing helped me a lot. You understand? So these are the two books that like they just set the tone for my entire self-improvement journey. Like if I'm tracing my self-improvement journey back to its roots, it began with these two books, especially the first one, Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life by Brian Tracy.
So like that's very good. Like that's actually a very nice story because I mean personally I'm a lover of books, right? And I don't know that in this journey you have to like you have to be ready to like you have to be curious to know more. And one way to find information is books like this, right? Because these people think I like. So yeah, it's actually a very, very good one. So still on this topic, like you talked about how you still have to like change your mindset. Was it the fact that the book was not just on talking about money and the psychology of money or psychology behind money, but was it that the book was just mainly on the idea of like the mind?
Yeah. Like the book was mainly on the idea of the mind.
Right.
Like that's basically just change your thinking, you change your life. So the guy basically told me to like he basically taught me like how my thinking affects my life, and I never knew this thing. And then since that day, my ear became super sensitive to negative words, because I can vividly remember when I was in the bus going back to school, I was just basically resting my head on the chair in front of me. Then the woman in front of me, she was with her child. The child now told her that she should buy for him something.
Yeah.
She now said, I don't have the money. Immediately she said that I don't have. This thing just clicked in my ear. Like it clicked. Like from that day, negative things start clicking in my ear. Do you understand? And just funny enough, I now started finding it harder and harder to spend time with people that are always negative. You understand? So the guy basically helped touch my mindset. He basically helped reshape my mindset. You understand? Like the book is a world-class book that I would recommend to basically anyone. Right.
So like you guys have heard this, right? The book by Brian Tracy. Change your thinking and change your life. Basically, you know, it's a powerful book. It changed Michelle, so it could change you. Now, moving on to the next question, Michelle. Like, I just want to know, and I think everybody needs to know. What do you think poor people listen to that rich people don't? Right. So, like, do you think there's a specific thing, or there are things that poor people, you know, give their time to, or they tend to always listen to more that rich people like neglect, and then like vice versa, basically, just from the poor? What do you think they listen to the poor rich people neglect, and what do you think rich people basically listen to that the poor basically neglect?
Okay, it's actually very. It is actually the heart of this episode, right?
Yeah.
So basically, what poor people listen to, right? What the kind of information poor people consume, right? Memes, TikTok dances, movies, things that never really like help them grow, right? It goes way beyond that. It goes way beyond that, because now personally I consume memes, TikTok videos, movies, right? So now it's now how much of your time you're putting into that thing. Now poor people consume content in the name of wanting to be updated. Rich people, they consume news and happenings around the world in the name of wanting to be updated. You understand? One of them now wants to be updated now. So what did they do? They go on TikTok and search for the next upcoming artist, and then start posting it on his status so that they'll be like, this guy is actually updated. While the other one goes to Forbes, BBC, Trend News, whatever, and then check what Trump is doing, check what China is doing, check what Elon Musk is doing or has done. There are people that basically want to keep, they just don't want a situation whereby the world will leave them behind.
Yeah.
You understand? You remember Charles? I remember one day I was arguing with Charles. I checked in news in the afternoon during lecture. The argument happened in the evening, right? So I thought I was so up to date, and I was standing with my argument. But Charles checked the news 5 minutes before the argument, and when I now checked it back, I saw that I was wrong. It was something about whether US market was up or down. I think in the afternoon it was down. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it was up. This is how rich people think, right? They want to be updated. like them getting left behind doesn't necessarily mean they are not following the latest trend. Them getting left behind means that they don't know what is happening in the world, and they basically never want that to happen to themselves. Now, poor people, they don't basically care about what is happening in the world, right? You see them, they just mostly like picking into people's life.
Following the trend.
Yeah, following the trend. You just pick into people's life now. Like Davido has dropped a new song, they'll pick it and then they'll start posting it and pushing it. And they'll now put all this enjoying music emoji so that people will be like, yeah, this guy knows what is happening. How the other one is on the charts, checking what is up and what is down, checking which market is rising and which market is dropping. Are you like seeing the basic difference between the both of them?
No.
You understand? Now, rich people, they consume the kind of content they consume now. Podcasts that are teaching them things, right? Books that help them grow knowledgeable, and whatever information, seminars and the rest. Now, poor people now, you only see them in groups. What are they talking about? Girls, games, Call of Duty, PUBG. That girl, or you see them complaining about that lecturer, or you see them complaining about the economy and the rest and all this. Like the kind of information both of them consume, it can't even be compared in any way. Like, somebody is actually consuming constant information on how to get better every day, learning a new skill every day, right? While you're basically obsessed with nothing, with rubbish. Now, let me say something that happened to me sometime last year. So, I think on our family group chat, my mother posted something. There was this boy that was lying on the hospital bed. His mouth was wide open, blood and the rest, and his mouth basically destroyed. And they said that he was charging phone while making a call. And while making a call, the thing exploded, right? So I now saw the thing. I was not like, shit. And I basically know a group of people. I'm basically in a group of 85 people that have phones. So I was not like, yeah, let me just share it to my class group, so that these people will see this thing, because this thing might be real, and God forbid, I'll never want this kind of thing to happen to any of my classmates. So I shared it to them, right? Then one particular guy now started engaging. Delete this rubbish. You understand? It was like, delete this rubbish. So I was not like, I didn't even really engage. I was not like, sure, no problem. I didn't let her delete it. The guy now dropped voice note. Started dropping voice note. At first, I didn't even understand. Like, at first, I thought that the guy was just trying to criticize me and trying to bring me down the rest. But then, it's not until recently that I understood that, like, there's this definition of maturity from this book called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. The guy defined maturity as giving your fucks to things that are only fuckworthy. It was like, these people now that you see that they're always over-engaging something, they basically don't have any other better thing to do. Mm-hmm. And then I now saw this, and I was not like, bro, this thing is actually like solid gold truth. I'm sure that some people saw that thing and just left the group and went back to something important. But the guy didn't basically have anything to do, so he was like entering the information. He was like looking for attention, seeking for basically what to do. Yeah. You understand? Because he didn't have a better thing to give his fucks to. What rich people now give their fucks to now are like very, very secret. They are very, very like different. Like for example now, they can be giving their focus to how their investment is doing, how their skill set is rising or dropping, how the economy is rising or crashing, how their business. You understand? Like basic important things. Then you now see people giving, like, you just see them giving their focus to stupid things. Yeah. Very, very stupid things. You see somebody, I'm not saying you shouldn't complain. Do you understand? I don't have a problem with people that complain. What I have a problem is over complaining. Fine, complain, no wahala. Everybody can get pissed once or twice. But we see people that will not be entering the thing. To keep on entering, that is when you now know that this person basically doesn't have a better thing to do. You understand? This person just basically doesn't have a better thing to do. Like, basically. Because me now, the way I am, many things that like for example now, you see somebody doing something to me, not be like, the reason I'm not talking is because I'm weak. Or, no, it's not because I'm weak or any shit like that. It's because I basically have better things to be doing than to be arguing with so and so person. But the person that doesn't have better things to be doing, you see them engaging, you see them talking, you see them commenting, you see them replying, you see them just looking for ways to pass their time. So the difference in the content rich people and poor people consume is that rich people consume economic trends. Rich people consume knowledge, books, skills, YouTube videos that teach them something. Poor people just consume social trends. Who is the next hyping superstar, or the latest meme, or whatever, all these stupid trends. You understand?
Yeah.
So you need to be very particular about what you're consuming, right? You need to be very, very particular about what you're consuming. I'm not saying you should throw them away. Personally, I watch movies. I watch a lot of movies. But at the same time, every day, at least I'll consume 1 or 2 knowledge that will help me know what is happening in the world. You understand? I'll consume 1 or 2 knowledge that will help me improve my skill set. Get? So that is just the thing now. You understand? You need to be very, very particular and cautious about what you're consuming, right?
So like, yeah, that's a very good one. That's a very good one. From this like analogy you gave, but I just want to like give my understanding to this and this question. Just give my understanding to what you said. Talked about how the poor people tend to consume social trends and rich people tend to economical trends. For me, why I see it is the poor people consume the trends.
Yeah.
Right? Poor people, they are satisfied with just wanting to know what the trend is all about and be part of it.
Yeah.
You understand? They're happy to just be part of it. Whereas the rich, they create the trends.
Yeah.
Right? So they don't just create the trends, they analyze the trends to see whether or not they should be part, they should engage. Their main priority is analyzing what the current trend is all about, whether or not they can create their own or continue with it, or they just basically their main focus is analyzing what the trend is all about. Whereas the rich the poor are just happy to like be part of it. Yeah. They don't want to even care what are the consequences to what's it called, where this trend is leading. They just want to be part of it.
And there's this feeling of importance that they will get of being part of it.
Yeah, so that's basically my own understanding. I think the poor are basically just there to consume trends, to consume information that are not what's it called, that are more of unimportant to them. They are more unimportant to them than any other thing, right? They're happy to be seen rather than be heard. They're happy to be seen rather than be heard. How do I put it? They're happy to be part of something rather than be the creator of something. So it's just basically the difference and the information and then one of the things that's basically a deciding factor to this is the information they decide to consume.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, it's actually a very good one. Now speaking on staying on this like fact of consumption, right?
Yeah.
I know you've talked about this one time. You just took me back to one of the episodes we have on the Michelle Anthony show. It took me about to an episode where you talked about like basically like productivity and consumption, like production and consumption, like the difference basically between the rich and the poor. Still on this consumption and production of a thing, there was this like thing you said about consuming. There was this content of this guy's content. What's his name? How did I just forget his name just now? Like Andrew Tate. Yeah, he talked about how you used to listen to Andrew Tate a lot, but there was this particular thing. You said you stopped listening to his like content.
Yeah.
So now this question is just why can you give us like clarity to that, like the reasons you chose to stop consuming Andrew Tate content? Because for one thing I don't understand about Andrew Tate is like someone that he speaks out for the integrity of man and where he thinks men should be.
Yeah.
Basically, and what he talks about is more powerful than a lot of social media content creators and motivational speakers they talk about. So can you tell me the reasons why you said you felt like you had to stop watching his contents, right? Why you felt like you have to reduce and minimize the way you were like listening to him more or something like that? So yeah.
Well, basically, I was like starting my self-improvement journey, right? Mm-hmm. At the same time, mixing with trying to make a lot of money. Understand? So I was just moving. The journey was so fucking like hard. Even now it's still hard, but I've just basically learned the balance. But that time that I didn't even know what the balance was, I was just moving, and every day I keep ending up with the same. I keep ending up with the same account balance as I was when I went to bed.
Yeah.
So, and then you now go online, and then somebody will now tell you that the reason you don't have it is because you don't want it bad enough. Right? Somebody will tell you that that the reason you're broke now is because you're basically throwing your life away. You understand? Then he was the person that made self-improvement now to start working against me instead of working for me, right? So you're basically grinded for like 16 out of 24 hours a day, right? And then when you're on that 30 minutes to 1 hour break, just a short movie or a short TikTok, you understand? Then you now mistakenly jam his content, and he now start telling you that you don't want it bad enough, that you're not serious, you're scrolling through social media and the rest and all those fuck. And then he now made me start feeling like guilty. So I'll leave it, and then I'll now start working my ass off. Still nothing to show for it. You understand? So at first I thought that like these guys were right. Not that they're wrong, but I now saw that I now had to just tell myself the truth that actually I'm actually doing a lot. No, like actually I am doing a lot, because not to like basically compare myself, because I can't count how many 16-year-olds are doing what I'm doing right now. So I just actually had to tell myself the truth that, bro, I am doing a lot, right? Yeah. And because of Andrew Tate said I'm not doing a lot, doesn't mean I have to stop doing a lot. So Andrew Tate, Sam Elonoha, Alex Omozi, Luke Belma, all of them, I stopped consuming their content. When I'm on social media for the comedy, for the trend, for all these things, right? But it's now until recently I started coming back to them. And I saw that you can actually filter out the message, right? So you can listen to something without necessarily allowing it to digest inside you, without necessarily allowing, because that time I used to allow every information to enter the back of my head. Now it's only very few informations I allowed to get to the back of my head. You understand? So that was basically the reason why I stopped consuming the guy's content, why I stopped consuming Andrew Tate's content. Andrew Tate is a nice guy, he's a sharp guy, he's a businessman. You understand? But at the same time, I won't advise most people that are basically starting self-improvement to be consuming Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate is going to make you work with motivation, right? The videos where he doesn't criticize you, he motivates you. And you don't need any of these two things. You don't need criticism, you don't need motivation. What you just need is discipline. It's just somewhere in the middle of motivation and criticism. Either Andrew Tate is criticizing or he's motivating. Either he's motivating or he's criticizing, right? So what you need is discipline. The practical ways to get things done. And it's only just very few people that I saw that could give me this thing I was looking for. Andrew Tate basically never gave me what I was looking for. Even now, when I'm consuming his content is more of like content, not knowledgeable or information content. I've never gotten any like valuable information from Andrew Tate, actually. But I've gotten some valuable information from some other people. So his own is just basically content. You understand? Just to see the nice houses, the flashy cars, and the rest. But personally, that is why I stopped consuming Andrew Tate's content, right?
Yeah. Like I understand where you're coming from. Because I personally, yes, we all want to make this money. We all want to make these billions, right? Yeah. But then the thing is, I don't want to be part of this whole journey. I don't want to get to that top and be like, yes, I had to, what's it called? Do everything possible at the expense of my youth, of me living a life and living a normal life, basically. Because this, in as much as I do love Iman Gadzi, I do love Andrew Tate, I do love all these guys, someone onward, these guys had to basically like sacrifice actually just having a normal life. Do you understand? These people talk about how, yes, when they were young, they did all these things, but friendship and all those things wasn't like their main source of like joy and everything. They just always stayed indoor, and they were not socializing all these things. Like, the idea of that thing is just not something that you would want to look at and be like, yes, I want to go. But that's the content that they feed to you. That if you're trying to live a normal life and trying to chase this what's it called, this goal and everything, you're wrong. They're wrong. But then I look at billionaires today, like fucking Mr. Beast, right? This guy is someone that has a social life, and he's still making the money, right? I look at people like Adesiri. I look at people that create content. I look at people that not just create content, but like these people that have the money, and yet you still didn't see them living a normal social life, like a life that is not restricted to just a specific way. That if anybody sees them do something, they will just be like, basically put. I feel like that life that these people are selling to us is eventually when we probably get that success or whatever we term as success, people will not be looking at us not to do certain things, right? Because now we're not restricted to just one specific life. We're not like we can't really make any errors. We can't really do anything because that life is just
I see where you're going. Like they just tell you one side of the whole story.
yeah.
Right? That's why I say anytime I come out to tell somebody something, I never personalize it. These people now, they'll personalize it and tell you that this is how it works.
Yeah.
No, that is how it worked for them.
Exactly.
You are a different entity, an entirely different entity. Now, there are people that will come out and generalize it. These are people that I like. Understand? They never personalize it. People like Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn is dead. He died 2005. But if you listen to this guy's content, this guy never personalized any information. He just give you the general thing, right? Like there's this thing I always used to tell myself. You understand? There is your perspective, there is my perspective, and there is the perspective, right? I'm always going with the perspective, not my own perspective. You understand? Because in as much as everybody has their own way they see things, there is just a better way to see things. I don't go with my own way of seeing things. I go with the better way of saying things. You understand?
And sometimes you can make that the better way of saying things your own way of saying things.
You can just make it your own. You understand? So I just basically go with what is best. You understand? Maybe even if it was not my own, even if it was hard at first to adopt it into my lifestyle, since it's what is best, I'll just adopt it.
I feel like this is, like I said, I think in our last podcast I talked about how the forex market is just basically for me a way of feeding off nature, understanding life as it is.
Yeah.
I talked about how forex helps me basically understanding life. Now, if you look at if you're someone that has learned forex, you understand that there are different strategies, right, to trading the forex market. There are different patterns. People that have various patterns, like ICT, price action, demand and supply zones, all those like various strategies that people have. Now, these various strategies that people have is just various patterns. Is if you look at everything, it's still having the same similar ideas. Right? Each of them have like similar ideas, but then there are various ways of going about it. Just how life is, there is this similar way of doing things, right? This grind, this discipline. Discipline is like everybody has to have discipline, but then those people had discipline, and then they wanted to sacrifice what their social life, right? They had their own various strategies and patterns that they had to go through. Do you understand?
Yeah.
To doing certain things, you should not make it your own strategy or your own pattern.
Yeah.
You should not just copy their life and paste it to your own. Do you understand? The point of this thing is for us to leave this world as originals, not photocopies. Do you understand? Because this was something that his said. Thomas Aquinas. Sorry, not Thomas Aquinas. I've forgotten his name. Carlos Acutis. He said, people come into this world as originals and live as photocopies. Why do you want to live as photocopies when you're coming to this world as who you are? So the idea of being successful or getting success, that whatever you term as success, right?
Yeah.
You now use someone else's patterns to get your own success, right? Do you think you'll be happy at the end of the day? You will not be happy, because it's not something that you had. You didn't live your life in like. If you have memories, you're not going to have memories to look back, and that is one thing about this life that you need to understand. Having things that you look back and be like, yes, guy, this is actually like a good story. Or you're telling someone else's story, right? You're telling someone else's story. Make your own unique, right? Make your own identity. Create your own identity. Not copy someone else's basically journey and then paste it on your profile, and everybody just lives the same life. Do you understand? And that is the problem with most of these content creators today, or these motivational speakers or inspirational speakers. They just basically feed you their lives, and you should copy their lives. Do you understand? I believe that you should have your own understanding. The information that they're going to give out should not just be about them, but should be something that the people who are listening should see, or should understand, and be like, used to understanding their own self, basically. That should be like your main priority. Feeding them the information that you need to understand your own self before you can now start implementing certain values to your journey, right? So this is actually a very true what you said right now is actually very true, and then I believe that most people who are listening to will understand that not every content that you should consume, it's not every content that is self-improvement that you should consume, right? Basically. So yeah, that's actually a very good one. Now, so this one is just basically like this question is just basically like let's just say it's an advice or something like this question I want to ask you now is just like, how would I put it? The question is basically, how do you see, or how do you decide basically? How do you decide what's useful information versus noise? Like, how would you like, on a scale of like, if I was to decide whether this content is powerful, because you talked about how Andrew Tate is someone who is hiding under the profile of self-improvement, right? You know, he wants to restore the dignity of men and all those things. You know, he wants to bring back men to that glory days, or basically. And then like this other content like Jim Rohn too. You give an example of how Jim Rohn did not personalize it. So basically, now how do you advise someone who has gone through this and basically now is realizing that, oh yes, these things you said it might be true. So how would they now be able to differentiate between useful information and noise, basically?
Okay. You know, like I said earlier, I will not generalize anything. You understand? So I can't tell everybody how to differentiate between what useful content is and what noise is, because at the end of the day, some people found Andrew Tate also very helpful in their life. All right. So for me, it's basically like it's starting first without the content. Starting first without the content. You have to get to know yourself first without the content. You basically have to get to know yourself first without the content. Your likes, your dislikes, basically who you are, right? Then, when the content starts coming, you now know, does this content does it align with who I am?
Yeah.
Does it align with who I want to be? Is this guy actually giving me general knowledge? Because there's this thing now. I didn't even notice it until now that I'm saying it. Most of the people that I consume their content that I like on social media now, these people now, they basically never personalize things. They always tell you the way, not their way, right? Someone like Myron Golden now, teaching about money, about finance and the rest, he's not telling you his way or whatever. He's telling you the way. Maybe yes, he followed that way, you understand? But that way is not his way. It is the way. You understand? There is like I said, there is your way, there is my way, and there is the way. So he's basically just telling you the way, how to get there. Now, most of these people now, you see them, they will come like they want to give you an advice. They don't basically know what is happening in your life. They don't know which stage you're in now. You don't know what you're doing, right? And then they just like something that was morphed from their past, from their life experiences and the rest, and how they see the world. Then they'll now give it to you, and then you now start forcing your system to download it. Eventually, you end up crashing. You understand? But there are people now that when they come out now, they generalize knowledge, guy. It's not their own knowledge or whatever. It is just the knowledge. It is what it is. You understand? So that for me, that's just basically how I differentiate them. You understand? Yeah, some people can come out and tell you a thing or two based on their own life experiences, right? That one day. But like, I'm talking about people now, you always see them pushing content based on things they don't even know about. You understand? And then you see them, they're always the most aggressive. When it comes to pushing the content. They don't basically know much about that thing, but they are pushing. They're basically, they keep on pushing it. For example, now, before the diary of a CEO, that guy now is interviewing CEOs of different companies. So let's say now there's this woman he was interviewing, Cathy Hart or whatever. The woman now is the richest. She's the woman that handles the highest investments. Like, she's the highest female investor in the world. So basically, when she's telling you about investment, she knows what investment is. You understand? Not somebody that will come and then they will start personalizing it in their own way. They'll basically give it to you on how it is. You understand? I remember when I first came across Alex Hormuz, the first thing I did was to go on Google and search his net worth, and I was surprised, $100 million. It's not like, okay, maybe this guy can give me what I want. I'm not basically saying that it's about the money. No, it's not about the money. It's like, because at first the guy was making sense, but I told myself, before I start liking this guy, let me know more about him. So I read more about him. I got to know him. I was not like, okay, yeah, this guy actually has knowledge that can be shared. So when the guy is sharing knowledge on sales and marketing and building your company and all those things, now he's telling you the way, not his way. You understand? The thing about the way now is that it is always the hardest part to follow. Everybody can have their own way of doing something. Understand? It might be mediocre, it might not be all that good, but the way is just the best way to follow it. You understand? So that how I differentiate between good content and the noise are just people who basically personalize and people who generalize. There are people that tell you practical information on how things are and how things work. There are people that they will come and then they will now use their own life experiences and tell you something. You understand? Somebody will come out and say the reason you don't have it is because you don't want it bad enough, and you've been grinding for like 3 months non-stop, and then somebody just comes out and tell you that thing and like, bro, it's a lie. You get? So that's how I just separate valuable from noise. You understand?
Yeah, I think that's just to like basically like lay more foundation onto this. I just want to give you guys an example, right? You cannot take the engine of a Ferrari, like latest model, and put it in a Toyota Camry 2015 model and expect the car to move like a Ferrari. There are certain parts of the Ferrari that would basically that is built there. That the way the Ferrari is structured is built to be able to carry the speed that engine is going to move at. Like, you should understand that everybody has its own different what's it called, life, right? And you cannot take information that has worked for a Ferrari, or take the engine that is working for a Ferrari, with the way it's built, the structure and the bolt and the mold, and put it in a Toyota Camry and expect that engine to work. It's not going to work. It's not possible. But the idea is that you need an engine to propel a car. That is all you need to know. You need to understand the idea. So basically, in this whole example I just give, just look at your life as the car or the body of the car. Somebody is the Toyota Camry 2015 model. Someone is the Ferrari 2015 model. The car, the mode, right? And then the lifestyle of that person, what the person actually needs, the lifestyle and the certain things the person needs to do. Do you understand? Is the engine, right? Each car has a destination, right? Each car has their own destination that they want to go. Then the destination is what each of you term as success, basically. Do you understand? And then the idea is just the perspective that Mitchell talks about. The idea that you need an engine to propel you to your destination is just the perspective that you need to have, right? That's just basically that's just the call you need to know. That's just all you need to know. Then the certain building of the certain engines to fit your own car is just basically your own perspective of things. Do you understand? So people should now like see it as that. So not things that you see that makes a Ferrari work, you now go and put it in a Toyota Camry 2015 model and expect it to work. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. That's not how the world is made. You just end up burning out. You just end up basically going into flames, crashing basically. Do you understand? So people should start looking at it in that limelight and start seeing that, right? You're just going to become another Andrew Tate. You're not going to be a different person. You're just going to be another Andrew Tate. So if your name was John, you're just Andrew Tate 1.0, right? Or you're listening to Alex Mosi, you're just going to be Alex Mosi 3.7 or 17.5. You're just going to be one of those people who listen to Andrew Tate. So basically, you're just a photocopy of what Andrew Tate is, or a photocopy of what Alex Mosi is, or a photocopy of all these big names that basically some people will term as noise. Basically, you're just a photocopy of those people, right? Take the core information these people are giving, right, and implement it in your life. Like Michelle said when he talked about how the first thing that had to change was your mindset, right? Because you read about books and but you didn't move him until he read the book that the change your thinking and change your life. Basically, you just have to build the mindset, right? You have to go with the mindset that you're going there to understand, going there with the understanding of how your life is, what you are now. Do you understand? Where you are now in that specific. So knowing yourself is the important way. You can't go to people in search of what your life is. No, you are to find where you are. You have to analyze yourself by yourself, and not with any information that's from an external source. No, use that information now that those people are giving you to propel you to that destination. Do you understand? Use that information as the idea, as an idea, as the engine, as the basic the need for basically the idea that yes, you need this thing, right? That's what you need, right? Then use it to refine your engine, basically, to fit your car, to fit your life, to fit who you are, to fit your personality. Do you understand? Use it to refine, to define, to basically mold that engine that will propel you to that destination. But first, you have to know what model you are. Are you a Ferrari or are you a Toyota Camry? What life you are, what person, your personality, what traits you possess, who are you? Where you are in what stance you have, where you are in what situation that you are in life. That is all. It's not somebody else that defines it for you. It's you that will define it for yourself. Do you understand? So that's just basically what Major is trying to say, and I just basically had to use a specific context to basically explain to you guys. You understand?
Yeah.
So yeah, Mitchell, thank you for that enlightenment, basically. So now, the next question I'm going to ask you is, what are your top 3 sources of information right now? Like, if you were to get information, like if you want to just the kind of sources of information you consume, what are your top 3 right now? What are the top 3 content creators that you would basically advise someone to listen to, or you basically listen to, and why you listen to that person?
Well, let me phrase the question as top 3 sources of information, right? So it can be content creators, it can be books, it can be whatever.
Yeah.
Now, for now in my life, currently now, my number 1 source of information is ChatGPT. You understand? It's actually sometimes now you have access to some certain type of information, right? And someone will be like, guy, how did you know this thing? Bro, what do you think ChatGPT is for? You understand? So ChatGPT is just like ChatGPT knows every fucking thing, right? So now I'm going to ChatGPT how to better the podcast, what is going on in the world. Like, you understand? ChatGPT has all the information. ChatGPT is like information in one box, right? You don't need to scroll endlessly on social media looking for anybody. ChatGPT has that thing you're looking for. Or you know, sometimes now there are some questions you have. You understand that no content creator will actually answer, even if you drop it in their comment box, right? You can just that's not about ChatGPT. ChatGPT is very flexible. You can give it a question bended in your own way, and to give you an answer, right? So my number 1 source of information is ChatGPT, right? Then my number 2 source of information is basically podcasts and content creators. Right now, the most of the people I'm on is Myron Goldie. You understand? I don't know if most of you know him. That guy with white beard and white hair. This guy is basically teaching me about finance. I'm like, this guy basically knows it. Like, he is the guy. You understand? He basically knows it, right? Then you see podcasts like Diary of a CEO. Once in a while, I just listen to them. You see people like Alex Omozi. From him, I'm learning sales. That's the guy I'm learning sales from, right? So there are some content creators out there that actually help in refining my mentality, right? And then there's books. You understand? Currently now, anything that I want to become good at, I pick up a book on it and read. For example, sales. I'm reading a book called Spin Sell, right? Life in general, I was reading a sort of art of not giving a fuck, the counter-intuitive approach to life. So yeah, there are just different sources of information that I have, right? So these are like, for me, my top 3. You understand?
Yeah. That's a very good one. Alright, so now I'm going to ask you on behalf of our listeners, right?
Yeah.
On behalf of our listeners, to those who are listening to this podcast right now, if they were to ask you a question concerning what they should listen to every day, like if they were to ask you a question like now, Mitchell, I want to basically get to that level. I want to get to this level that you are basically feeding on. This whole idea, this self-improvement level.
Yeah.
If they were to ask you that question tomorrow, they ask you, what content would I need to be consuming every single day? What should I be listening to every single day? What would be your answer? What would you say?
Well, for me, I'll basically tell them that they should just start off with books. You understand? Because, like I said, I'll keep on personalizing information and not generalizing. So, since this question is a direct question, I'll tell you how I started off, and it was with books. Like, bro, read. Actually, you understand? There's something about reading that most people don't know, but read books now. Books are just, there are some books out there that they will teach you more than what, like, for example, now I'm telling that if somebody can stay and read Sell or Be Sold, Sell Like Crazy, Spin Selling, The Psychology of Sales, and No Bull Selling, that person will be better than any marketing student that stayed and studied marketing for 5 years. I bet you. So actually read and read a lot. You don't basically need to read like somebody like Warren Buffett that say he reads 500 pages in a day or whatever. But actually you just need to read. Right? You just need to read. Sometimes it's not even about content. Sometimes content now might overwhelm you. Because if your content is self-improvement, now these are top guys giving you top information, right? And then you now feel this obligation to perform whatever all of them are telling you, and it just end up overwhelming you. But if you read a book, you read the page a day, you start viewing things from the way that page told you to start viewing things. You start applying that page. The next day, read another page. So for me, I'll just tell you, actually, read. Whatever area of your life you're trying to grow on, I bet you a book has been written on that thing. You understand? Pick up a book and read. Pick up a book and read. And the thing about reading that makes reading fun, unlike reading for examination, you're not being forced now. You understand? So it's just something you're doing on your own. It's just something you're doing with your own will. Nobody's actually forcing you. You understand? So personally, I'll just tell you, read. Read. You understand? Whatever area you're trying to grow on, read. It's a book that changed my mindset. It's a book that helped improve my skill set. It's a book that is still helping me to grow. So yeah, that's what I'll just tell you, basically. Just read.
That's a good one. Personally, I don't want to lie to you guys. I don't like reading books. Whether or not it's self-improvement books or anything. But the thing is, the truth about it is, you see, I don't like reading any type of book. I don't like reading academic books. But then, I remember when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, right, by Robert Kiyosaki. And then those kind of books that I resonated with more. Right, these books were even more like, you can give me a novel that was given by me by a class, like by school told me to read this novel. I will not engage in that novel. I will throw it away. I will not read it. Give me a textbook, I cannot finish it. I don't like reading. But I read this Robert Kiyosaki book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. And then currently I'm about to start a book called Psychology of Psychology of Forex. Basically, it's a Forex book, right? Trading in the zone, basically. So this is all I would say is, the moment you start reading, like you have that willingness to do something, it builds trust in yourself, right? It makes you understand that. It gives you confidence, builds trust in yourself. It means that you now trust yourself more. Because one thing about procrastination makes you lose trust in yourself subconsciously. You tend to lose trust in yourself consciously, and you can't even keep promises to other people. It makes you become more likely not to keep a promise to somebody. Do you understand? So if you are able to read a book you tell yourself, I'm going to read page 1, like you just said, page 1 today, page 1 tomorrow, page 2. You're going to just be doing it, and you end up doing it that whole day. It just basically builds confidence in yourself. It builds trust, and your mentality starts to shift, right? Your mentality starts to shift in that I can do it. It becomes I may not be able to I can do it if I set my mind to it, right? Your mentality starts to shift, then you know that you start to trust yourself more. You start to build more confidence, and that is self-improvement basically. That is self-improvement. When you are willing to do something and you accomplish it, you just basically grow in confidence, and you get that boost, that trust in yourself basically just grows in you, and basically just keeps on improving your mind. So you see, that's the effect of just reading willingly, reading self-improvement books, especially reading books that are enlightening, reading books that are basically like just what this whole journey that you want to put yourself into. That's just basically it. And what you need to understand is, yes, this journey that you're about to take, this improvement journey that you're about to take, my dear, people have started and they've made money and made success from this journey. So you're not the first, right? Like I said in the beginning, like I said in this podcast, you are not the first, but you're the first of you, right? So yes, take the informations, the core ones, the very, very important ones, the very vital ones, right? That is so what's it called? Consistent in different people's lives. You see that is a consistent trend in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You look at 10 billionaires, and you see that in all those 10, there is this that information that this person is passing to me is constant in all of them. Take it, and then you refine it with you, where you are, basically with the knowledge of where you are and who you are as a person. Do you understand? Add what you need to add. Do you understand? And live by it. Do you understand? So that's just what I would advise you, basically. That's how this world is, basically. That's how this world is. You make it your own style, you make it your own unique way. You don't have to force yourself to be somebody else. No, don't do that. Do you understand? Make it your own unique way. Get the information, the vital ones, and make it your own unique way. So, I believe you've learned a lot from this podcast. I believe this show basically enlightens you. The information that billionaires grasp, basically the information that they have versus how the information that church rats or poor people basically have. And you see that the poor tend to have less concern for analyzing the way life is, whereas the rich tend to analyze the way the trends are, right? The poor are less concerned about basically what the adverse effect is and what the future holds. They are more in the now, right? They're more about the now rather than wanting to take the risk. So they basically don't want to have more information. So I believe that this show that we talked about, and Mitchell answering this question that I've asked him today, I believe it should have opened you to the certain information that you need to know and certain sources you need to find these informations, right? I believe this should have basically opened my mind, because it definitely did open my mind to a lot of things, right? So yeah, I believe we've learned a lot. I know we've learned a lot, right? It is
Yeah, and remember, our 20th episode is coming up next week, Wednesday. So, and we are basically handing the mic over to you, and we are asking you, if you had the mic for 60 seconds, what would you say? It could be a confession, a truth, a warning, a dream, whatever. So the link to the document is on our bio, right? So just click on the bio, get your answer in. On Wednesday, our 20th episode, we review all the answers. Have a nice day and stay jiggy, though.
Peace. Bye bye.